Hey man, let's start with the truth. Most guys only realize after they've been drained, disrespected, or dismissed too many times. The more you talk to women, the less they feel for you. Sounds backwards, right? We're taught to open up, communicate, express ourselves, show them we're thoughtful. But somewhere along the way, you start noticing something strange. The more you speak, the more she seems distant. The more you explain, the more she gets bored. The more you share, the less she listens, and you're left wondering what went wrong. It's not that you said something offensive, it's that you said too much, and in that flood of words, you killed the mystery, you diluted your power, you gave her access to a kingdom she hadn't earned, and now that she knows the map, she's no longer interested in the journey. A man's power isn't in his speech, it's in his presence. Ever. It's in the silence between his words, it's in the weight of his gaze, the restraint in his reactions, the calm in his pauses. You'll notice the men women respect most aren't the ones who charm them with endless chatter. They're the ones who say little but mean everything. Their words are rare, and that's why they carry weight. But if you're constantly available, constantly sharing, constantly explaining yourself, you become predictable, familiar. And in female psychology, familiarity kills desire. The conversations start to feel dry, the connection starts to feel forced, and she starts saying things like, "We don't click anymore," when in truth, you never gave her space to miss you. See, when women say they want to talk, what they really mean is they want you to listen. They want to pour, not receive. And if you start mirroring that emotional openness, if you start opening up like her best friend or therapist, you shift the entire dynamic. She no longer sees you as the rock. She sees you as the sponge. And no woman falls in love with the man who absorbs her. She wants the man who anchors her. So when your conversations start getting too emotional, too expressive, too frequent, she feels it. She might not say it, but it builds. That tension, that disinterest, that lack of attraction. And before you know it, she's texting you dry, canceling plans, saying she's busy. Not because you did something wrong, but because you gave her too much of what she didn't need. Conversations with women become awkward when they lack tension, when everything is laid out, when every thought is narrated. And this happens because most men believe connection comes from words, but women connect through vibe, through energy, through presence. You could say 10 words and leave her thinking about you for a week, or say 1,000 and make her feel like she knows you too well. Think about it. The guys she chases aren't the ones who told her their whole life story on the first date. They're the ones she couldn't quite figure out, the ones who answered questions with smirks, who redirected conversations, who said, "You'll see," instead of explaining. That's what created obsession. That's what built the pull. Because they weren't trying to win her, they let her wander. Most men talk too much because they're trying to prove they're enough. They overcompensate. They think if they say the right thing, share the right story, make the perfect joke, she'll fall. But women don't fall for words, they fall for energy. And if your energy screams, "Please like me," you've already lost. She may smile, she may laugh, she may even stick around for a while. But in her heart, you're not the one, because she feels your need. She senses your approval seeking, and that's the quickest way to turn a conversation into an obligation. She's talking to you because she feels bad, not because she feels pulled. And the second a man starts feeling like work to a woman, the clock starts ticking on how long he has left in her life. Women aren't drawn to verbal clarity, they're drawn to emotional contrast. When everything is explained, the edge disappears. And when the edge disappears, so does the interest. That's why a guy who doesn't overshare, who listens more than he speaks, and who keeps his emotions close to the chest, becomes an unsolvable riddle to her. It's not that he's rude or distant, it's that he's intentional. He values his words. He knows that once spoken, energy leaves the body, so he conserves it. He doesn't need to talk about his goals, he lives them. He doesn't narrate his ambition, he moves in silence. And that quiet dominance, it magnetizes her. It leaves her asking questions, and questions create imagination. And imagination always trumps information when it comes to attraction. The other problem with overtalking is this: it removes all room for leadership. When you're constantly verbalizing every emotion, every thought, every decision, you stop leading and start performing. And when a woman feels like you're performing for her approval, she instinctively assumes control. She becomes the emotional anchor, the one who now sets the tone, the one who has it together, and whether she says it or not, that shift kills polarity. Because feminine energy doesn't want to lead, it wants to feel led, not controlled, not bossed around, but guided, and guidance requires decisiveness, stillness, intent, none of which show up when a man is rambling through his insecurities, hoping to be validated. You ever wonder why the guy who barely talks to her ends up being the one she's obsessed with? It's because mystery stirs emotion. When a woman doesn't know what you're thinking, she starts thinking about you. When you're calm and calculated in conversation, she hangs on to every word. But when you flood her with details, stories, confessions, she tunes out, because now the chase is gone. There's nothing left to uncover. And women are addicted to the process of discovery. They don't want everything handed to them. They want to earn pieces of you. And the more they earn, the more they value. But if you reveal yourself too soon, they'll smile and then walk away with no desire to stay. Not because they didn't like you, but because you gave them nothing to work for. A high-value man isn't silent because he has nothing to say. He's silent because not everyone deserves to hear him. He speaks with purpose. He chooses words like a warrior chooses battles, rarely and with full intention. He lets his silence do the heavy lifting, because he knows a woman will fill that silence with her own projections, assumptions, fantasies, and that's where the power lies, not in what he says, but in what he leaves unsaid, in the unanswered text, in the long pause before a reply, in the eye contact that speaks more than a monologue ever could. And that's when women lean in. That's when they chase, because the mind is most obsessed with what it cannot fully grasp. And most men, they become too easy to grasp. And here's the most dangerous part of over-talking. You start to feel seen before you're safe. You give away sacred pieces of yourself to someone who hasn't earned a right to carry them. And when she walks away, you feel betrayed, exposed, like something was taken from you. But the truth is, you gave it away. You volunteered your vulnerability to someone who was only supposed to witness your strength. That doesn't make her cruel, it makes you unfiltered. And when a man lacks boundaries with his words, he usually lacks boundaries in his life. And that's what women pick up on, not just what you say, but what it represents. So when conversations start feeling off, it's not just her mood, it's your presence, your energy, your inability to protect the parts of yourself that should have remained sacred. Most men think they're connecting when they overshare, but what they're really doing is disqualifying themselves from mystery. And once the mystery dies, desire follows. You can be charming, successful, even attractive, but if she feels like she knows you too well too soon, she doesn't feel you. And that's the subtle shift most guys miss. Women don't chase what they understand, they chase what they feel compelled to understand. So when you tell her everything about your past, your struggles, your dreams, your thoughts, you rob her of that instinct. You deny her the very tension that awakens her feminine curiosity. And when she doesn't feel that curiosity, she confuses your vulnerability with weakness. Not because she's shallow, but because she senses that you need her to get you. And the second she becomes your emotional outlet, you stop being her emotional anchor. A lot of guys sabotage themselves by turning the vibe into a therapy session. You're on a date, and instead of staying composed, playful, and subtly dominant, you're venting, explaining your childhood trauma, your heartbreak, your self-doubt. You're hoping to build trust when all you're doing is leaking uncertainty, and you'll see it in her eyes. The moment the attraction dies, she leans back, she nods politely, she still smiles, but inside she's done because you just flipped the polarity. You made her feel like your protector instead of feeling protected, and every fiber of her feminine energy rejects that imbalance. She can't even explain it. She'll just say something like, "I don't know, the chemistry wasn't there," but what she really means is you talk too much, and now I can't respect you the same way anymore. Now, I'm not saying you should be cold, emotionless, or robotic. What I'm saying is this: earn the right to speak deeply. Let her earn the layers of who you are. Don't just hand them out because she showed up. Watch how she behaves. Watch how she responds to your boundaries, your silence, your absence, and only when she shows loyalty, patience, and genuine feminine softness, then you open up slowly, with control, with measure, and she will feel it. She will sense that every word you speak comes with intention, that your vulnerability is earned, not spilled, and that changes everything. Because now you're not just another man sharing his soul, you're a man who values it too much to give it away for free. It's not about talking less just to create scarcity. It's about being a man of such grounded presence that your words naturally carry weight. When you walk into a room, your silence speaks before you do. When you look at her, she feels something without you needing to say anything. And when you finally speak, it means something. That's how power is built, through stillness, through control, through an unshakable sense of self that doesn't need to narrate its existence. Because when a man knows who he is, he doesn't need to convince anyone else. He lets the room adjust to him, and that presence alone, it makes even the simplest conversation feel electric. Because he doesn't talk to impress, he talks to lead. If conversations with women feel off, it's not because you're saying the wrong things, it's because you're saying too much of anything at all. You're trying to connect through logic, explanation, oversharing, when you should be connecting through energy, mystery, and silence. Let her talk. Let her reveal herself. Let her feel the contrast between her chaos and your calm. And when you do speak, let it be minimal but meaningful. Let it be playful, teasing, bold. Let her wonder what you meant. Let her replay it in her mind. That's how obsession begins, not with more talking, but with less certainty. Because the most attractive men don't give answers, they create questions. There's a reason why the quietest man in the room is always the most intriguing. He doesn't need to compete, he doesn't need to prove. He sits in his power like a mountain, unshaken, immovable. And women feel that. It makes them want to lean in to earn a piece of that silence. Because in today's world, where everyone's oversharing, over-explaining, and overexposing themselves on social media and in real life, the man who keeps his cards close to his chest becomes rare, valuable. He becomes the storm she can't predict, the chapter she can't skip, the mystery she can't solve. And women don't fall for answers, they fall for depth, and depth can't be communicated through endless words. It's communicated through presence, restraint, and power held in stillness. What's even more ironic is that when you talk less, you create space for her to talk more. And when a woman talks more, she bonds, she invests, she reveals herself emotionally. That's the paradox. The less you say, the more she feels connected, because she fills in the blanks. She imagines who you are. Based on the limited details you've given, she projects her ideal version of you. And that idealized version is more attractive than anything you could have said. Most men try to win her over with impressive stories, smart lines, or emotional vulnerability. But the man who says little, who listens, who nods, who smiles calmly, he's the one she can't stop thinking about, because she has no idea what he's thinking. And that space becomes obsession. When a man speaks too much, especially early on, what he's actually doing is seeking approval. It's an unconscious way of saying, please see me, please like me, please think I'm enough. And women pick up on that energy instantly. It might not register logically, but emotionally, she knows he's not grounded, that he needs her validation to feel like a man. And once she senses that imbalance, the attraction dies, because nothing repels feminine energy faster than a man who's desperate to be understood. So she detaches, she looks for a stronger frame. One that doesn't bend with her emotions, one that can hold its shape, even when she storms. And that frame? It's never built on over-talking. It's built in silence, in self-assurance, in a quiet presence that says, I know who I am, you can stay or go, I'll still be him. Let's be honest, most men talk too much out of fear. Fear of awkward silence, fear of being misunderstood, fear of rejection. But the high-value man embraces all of that. He lets the silence linger. He lets her interpret his calm however she wants, because he knows his worth doesn't rise or fall based on her reaction. He's not performing, he's not auditioning, he's selecting, observing, filtering. And that's the mindset shift most guys need. You don't need to convince her to like you. You need to see if she's worthy of your time, your story, your soul. And that process doesn't require 1,000 words. It requires patience, composure, the ability to sit across from her and not need to fill the space with noise just to feel enough. In the end, it's not about never speaking. It's about mastering the timing and weight of your words. Speak when it matters. Speak with strength. Speak with direction. Let your communication be an extension of your inner world, not a compensation for the parts you haven't built. Let her feel your presence before she hears your voice. Let her earn your story before you reveal it. Because the man who is quick to explain himself is usually the one who doubts himself. But the man who knows who he is, he lets the world catch up. He moves in silence. And that silence, it echoes louder than any pickup line, any compliment, or any clever joke ever could. When you become that man, quiet, deliberate, self-contained, something powerful starts happening. Women begin reacting to you without understanding why. They feel something in your silence, a pull, a challenge, a storm behind the still water, and that's what feminine energy craves, not noise, not explanations, but depth. The kind of depth that makes her sit up straighter, slow down her voice, watch your lips as you speak just a few words. You're no longer trying to entertain her. You're not performing. You're not seeking rapport. You're observing, choosing. And in that quiet confidence, you become unforgettable because she's used to men talking her into attraction. But you make her feel it without saying a word. A man who talks too much often doesn't realize he's self-sabotaging. He thinks he's connecting when he's actually removing all the tension that makes her want to connect. He turns himself into an open book before she's even interested in reading. And the truth is, women don't desire the book they've already read. They want mystery. They want pages they haven't earned, chapters they get to unlock through trust, time, and consistency. So when you overshare too soon, you hand her a conclusion without the journey. And once that happens, she closes the book, not because you're boring, but because you left her with nothing to imagine. And imagination is the gateway to feminine desire. She may not say it out loud, but what she feels when you stay quiet, when you don't flinch to fill the silence, when you let her words hang and just look into her eyes with grounded intensity, is this man is different, not louder, not funnier, not even more interesting, just different. In a world full of noise, he's peace. In a sea of boys trying to impress, he's already chosen himself. That's the effect of not needing to talk. That's the gravity of a man who isn't swayed by reactions. And when you speak from that place, she leans in, not because you said the perfect line, but because your energy made her feel safe, challenged, and curious all at once. So the next time you feel that urge to talk, to impress, to fill the space, pause. Let her wonder, let her reach, let her ask questions instead of you giving answers nobody asked for. Give her the gift of silence. Give yourself the power of restraint. And watch how the entire dynamic shifts. You're no longer the man trying to win her over. You're the man she's trying to figure out. And when you master this, you'll see how much less effort it takes to make her feel more. Because women don't fall in love through information, they fall in love through energy, polarity, and the unknown. In the end, your power as a man lies not in how much you say, but in how little you need to. Your words mean more when they're rare. Your silence becomes your strength when it's not born from fear, but from presence. So speak less, feel more. Lead with grounded masculinity that doesn't seek to impress, but to observe, lead, and filter. And remember, when conversations feel off with women, it's often because you've made yourself too available, too exposed, too explainable. But when you return to your center, calm, still, self-contained, everything changes. Not just how they see you, but how you see yourself. And that, brother, is the beginning of real power.